Well, it's been a while since I've done one of these. I think it's actually been 2 years since my last monthly recap on the channel. Yeah, for those of you who weren't around back then, I used to do a thing where every single month I would look back at all the videos I made the previous month and read some of the best comments that you guys left on my videos. It felt like a good way to increase engagement on the channel and to kind of build a community because I'm actually like interacting with my subscribers, which is not something that happens very much with a lot of YouTube channels. And it's something that nobody else really does. I mean, there are definitely channels that read comments on their videos, and some of them even reading them aloud in separate videos, but taking like all the videos from the month and making a whole compilation, like it's definitely something I've never seen before. And there's a pretty good reason for it because it takes a lot of effort. These things are like at least 10 videos wrapped into one just based off the time. They usually run about an hour long, and of all the editing I have to do because I have to read a whole bunch of comments and put the comments in the video. A lot more editing, a lot more effort than my typical upload. So much so that I actually stepped away from doing them for a while, and I actually honestly haven't made too many YouTube videos at all. I actually did the math, and like it's really crazy because I never really thought about it. I obviously know that I didn't make too many videos in 2022 because I was kind of inactive and I didn't really do a whole lot. Even with my main channel, Mr. NoobTube Gamer, which actually haven't posted a video there in 3 months, but at least for 2022, I posted a lot more over there than I did over here. I didn't realize this. If you include the 2 videos I made on towards the end of December, in I think it was December 27th and December 31st, that was 5 videos total that I made in the entire year of 2022 on this channel. In the month of January, I posted 10 videos. So just in 1 month in 2023, I made twice as many videos on this channel than I did during the entire year of 2022. And in 2021, I also didn't post a whole lot. I was going through a lot. My father passed away in July of that year. And something like that definitely puts you in a very deep depression, which I always considered, like, when I was a teenager, I'd always say, oh yeah, I'm depressed, which I'd usually say when a girl turned me down, or if anything happened, like, that's pretty trivial in comparison to someone dying, right? But I always considered myself depressed when I was a teenager, you know, going through depression. But what I experienced when my father passed away was just on a whole other level. I always considered myself to be kind of like a more sad person, but this was literally a deep, deep, deep depression to the point where I lost all motivation to do anything and everything. It took, just to get out of bed, took so much effort from me. It was really a very dark period in my life, and I'm still kind of experiencing it to a degree. But that definitely led to my inactivity from YouTube, me not posting a lot of videos, which I've been around for 13, almost 14 years. And I have never posted as little as I have over the past year and a half or so. And I can't really say that that's not going to change because during the entire month of February, I haven't posted a single video on this channel. Still haven't posted on the Mr. NoobTube Gamer channel, which is actually, you know, I guess hurting me financially because I actually did make some pretty damn good money on that channel for a pretty long period of time. Obviously not enough to do it full time, but a few $1,000s, which, like, for a channel that is as small as mine is, I only have 4,500 subs over there. And when I started making some good money, I think I only had like 2,000 subs. But I just lost the passion for first-person shooters, for Call of Duty, and all that stuff. I tried to play the new Modern Warfare 2. I could not get into it. I tried. I really did. But I was just like, fuck this. You know, I only have a limited amount of time every day, especially with the full-time job that I have, it being a very physically demanding job and just mentally exhausting as well, that I don't have the amount of energy that I used to. I kind of feel like an old man. So, you know, I'm going to use my time the way I see fit, and I'm not going to force myself to do something to, you know, feeling like it's an obligation. So that's why I haven't posted any videos on here, even though I think a month between uploads, it's a lot better than what you guys have been through over the past year and a half where I would just disappear literally for an entire year. So, you know, I'm definitely improving, but I can't promise when or if videos will return, although I will say the views and the overall reception when it comes to me coming back to this channel and posting videos again after a very, very long time, it has exceeded my expectations to a certain extent. I didn't expect to have multiple videos exceeding 1,000 views like what I had in the month of January. People seem to be enjoying my content. Obviously, there's some opinions that I have shared that some people do not agree with, and as a result, I had a good amount of videos that had, I wouldn't say more dislikes than likes, but a lot of dislikes. I think there was one video I made that had like 67% likes against dislikes. I think it was the PC versus console video, which we'll get into. We'll get into all of those videos that I made. But before I do that, I want to quickly plug one of my new YouTube channels that I just recently created, One Up Chuck. It's my Let's Play channel. I basically do Let's Plays of a whole bunch of different games. Right now, I'm in the middle of 5 playthroughs. I got Sonic Heroes, The Cat in the Hat, Fairly Odd Parents Breaking the Rules, Grand Theft Auto Vice City Stories, and The Hobbit. The whole idea around creating that channel was, one, to be able to post more content on YouTube. It's a lot easier to just post gameplay that I'm already doing anyway, with commentary, but also as a way to get more gameplay and to be engaged in video games again, because that's something, another big problem, another big reason as to why I haven't been posting a lot on YouTube, is because I haven't been playing a whole lot of video games in general. So I think, you know, that passion, that love for YouTube is still there, and my passion for gaming is still there, but it's lost a lot over the years. I've definitely not had the same passion that I once had when I was younger. So I feel like if I combine those two together, I would just become more engaged with video games as a whole. And so far, it's been working. I've been really motivated to do these Let's Plays and to post these videos and to play more games. I was at first very reluctant to even acknowledge this channel's existence and not share it with you guys, because I feel like a lot of you would be like, it would kind of rub you guys the wrong way because I'm posting all this content over here on this channel, this new channel, while neglecting the other ones that I have. And I'm definitely not going to share it with Mr. YouTube Gamer, because a lot of people are going to be pissed off over there if I'm just like, hey guys, I know I haven't posted a video in 3 months, but here's this other YouTube channel that I have. It definitely won't go over well with the people that are subscribed to me over there. But I figure it's okay to share it here, because I think in order for anybody to really know about this channel, they have to be a pretty big fan of my content to sit through these hour-long recap videos. And if you are a big fan of me, then more content, no matter which way I deliver it, will be a welcoming bit of news for you guys. So yeah, I just thought I'd put it out there. But anyway, I think I have rambled long enough. Let's get into the monthly recap for the month of January 2023. There obviously won't be one for February since I didn't post any videos this month, but hey, whatever. So this first video technically was posted on December 31st, 2022, so not January, but I uploaded it very late in the evening. I think it was like 5 or 6 o'clock. So for a lot of people, it was 2023, and it was the month of January. So I'm going to include it in this recap. I also thought it was a pretty interesting topic that doesn't really get enough discussion in the video game community, and the topic is, will in-game ads ruin gaming? So the whole idea of placing ads in the middle of gameplay, whether it be like an actual interruption of gameplay, like having to sit through an ad in order to continue playing, or, you know, I thought of the idea of a game like, let's say, Grand Theft Auto, but instead of, you know, they have parody ads on the billboards and on the signs all over the city. Instead of it being fake ads that you see in the game, it's actually real ads. And potentially they could also have real-life advertisements in the in-game radio stations in Grand Theft Auto. I see that as a huge possibility, because the thing about these publicly traded corporations is that they want revenue to continuously go up and up and up and up and up. They want continuous exponential growth, no matter what the cost. Like, when it comes to artistic integrity and all that kind of stuff, that they just care about the dollar sign. So when there is an opportunity for them to make more money, they will most likely jump at it. And I think that's going to happen, especially with the way gaming is right now with live services, so always being connected to the internet and all that kind of stuff. I think it is a very, very huge possibility that could even creep into single-player type games. You could have sponsorships and stuff like that. It is something that's been done before, like the infamous White Castle in Homefront, which is a game that most people forgot even existed, but, you know, it's been done before in the past, and I've listed multiple examples of it being used and implemented over the years, but it's still something that's not very widespread. I think that will change in the next 5 years. I think by 2027, 2028, this will definitely be a thing that is pretty much mainstream across all major AAA releases. But let's see what you guys have to say. Neighborino says, I'm glad to see you uploading on this channel again. And Full Corrupt responds, you should watch his old videos. You won't be glad that he's back. Yeah, I made a lot of bad content. Really just trolling content. Like, I would say most of the videos I made from, like, I don't know, 2012 to 2017, 2018 was all just me trying to get a reaction out of people, a negative reaction out of people. And it mostly worked. And it's still working if people are still bringing up those old videos. Haven't deleted them because I'm really not trying to hide anything, and I didn't do anything terrible. I didn't, like, try to hurt individual people or do anything that is just completely morally objectionable. I've just made silly videos on YouTube that pissed a lot of people off, but it was just, at the end of the day, me sharing opinions that were very unpopular, which is something I still do, and I'm not afraid of doing it. And you could see, you know, as we go on through some of the other videos I made in January, I'm not afraid to share controversial opinions, but the way in which I went about it, yeah, it was kind of in a more arrogant tone, and me just kind of like acting like, yeah, I don't give a shit about what anyone thinks, and screw you guys, and PC gamers suck. But at the end of the day, it was trash talk, and I don't think it really was, like, a terrible thing. Like, I'm not, like, a irredeemable human for trolling people for however long I did. I didn't try to flag people down or sell NFTs or do anything that's just straight up bad. I was just messing around with people for a little bit, and it was, to me, all in good fun. Shinkansen Hype, as regards to the in-game ads, he says that it depends on how it will all work. Yeah, that's what I said in the video. Like, if they just do it where, like, you know, what I brought up just now, actually, with real-life banner ads being placed in, like, an open-world setting, that doesn't really bother me as much as it would if it was like, oh, yeah, you have to watch this ad in order to keep playing, or if they rely so much on corporate advertising money that if, let's say, Pepsi is like, yeah, you know, like, we really want to give you, like, $100 million to make Grand Theft Auto, but can you show a little bit less cleavage? Can you show can you show less violence? Can you write the story a certain way that we can be comfortable giving money to? And that would definitely be problematic and would definitely be a huge contentious issue across the video game community and the industry as a whole. I think, you know, even if, like, I say, even in the best case scenario, it can still be bad, because there are people that play video games and try to, you know, do certain things, like whatever hobby they have, to kind of escape from the whole, like, ads in your face every 5 seconds. But if you can't escape ads even in a video game, it's just like, shit, man, I can't get away from this no matter what, you know? Like, it kind of would be a little bit depressing to live in a world where literally every facet of your life is advertising, and people just trying to sell you something all the time. And to kind of go along with that point, Radeon Vector says, yeah, as soon as it's accepted, corporate trash will screw it up. The first time I thought about it, it was like, hey, if it's done right, it might be cool. But nah, corporate ain't never been cool. I mean, truer words have never been said. Every single time you see, like, a big corporation try to implement something, and at first it seems like, oh, it's not really that big of a deal. It's like, whatever. And then it just gets worse and worse and worse and worse and worse, to the point where it kind of hinders the experience, whether we're talking about gameplay or whatever else that, you know, you consume. It makes you wish that you, as the customer, never went along with these business practices in the first place. In the context of the video game industry, that could be the fall of physical media and the rise of digital media, along with the rise of online gaming and live services, which at first seemed like really cool concepts. Like, as far as going all digital, it's like, well, it's a lot easier to buy games instead of having to go all the way to GameStop or waiting for a package to come from Amazon, you know, for a physical disc, and the potential of the disc being scratched or destroyed or ruined. But if you buy it digitally, it's never destroyed. So it's a lot more convenient. And plus, GameStop is run by a bunch of shitheads, and they're trying to sell you shit every 5 seconds, and it's annoying. So it's not like the shopping experience for physical games was all that pleasant. So you know, it seemed like a good thing. But now with physical media being all but gone, and with the rise of online multiplayer, which, you know, again, was something that sounded really cool, being able to play games with your friends online over the internet instead of just playing single player all the time, all that was great. But now it's created a landscape where you can lose access to video games like that. You know, like, it's with DRM and with all the stuff that's come with digital media and with live services, where games can shut down, or even single player games can just be removed from the marketplace. It's definitely a huge problem that we are facing right now, especially as people who love video game preservation and want all games, whether they're good or bad, to be preserved and to be playable. That's definitely, over the past decade, has been a huge challenge. Even backwards compatibility, which is something that we've had actually more access to over the past decade. Over the 8th generation of consoles, we had backwards compatibility for the 360 on Xbox One, which was amazing. But there are certain games that you can't play because it's digital backwards compatibility, which means that if a certain game, if the license is expired, if it's not sold on the Xbox store, if a developer or publisher has not approved that game being backwards compatible or being playable on modern hardware, then you simply cannot play it. I can think of a bunch of the old WWE games that are not playable on Xbox One. I can think of actually a lot of games that you can't play from the 360 over to the Xbox One and Xbox Series X. So that it's just like, it feels like the whole implementation of online gaming and digital media has just gone too far. But we let it happen in the first place. So that's something to remember when new things like this pop up in the video game industry, that at first seemed like a good idea or harmless, but might evolve into something much, much, much worse. Oh, this next video was a good one, talking about PC versus console gaming. Again, another PC versus console video. It's kind of amazing how I have transformed over the years. I used to be one of the biggest console fanboys that you could possibly imagine, talking against PC gaming every moment that I had, making countless videos. I was mentioning earlier that it was trolling, but there definitely was like a real life hatred and discontent against PC gaming, but now it's come full circle. I am all for PC gaming, 100% against console gaming now. I just love how the tables have turned. Now, there were a lot of interesting comments left on this video. This video in particular got by far the most engagement out of all the videos I posted over the past month. I had, like, my average amount of comments that I got on every other video was like maybe 10 or 15. This video has 289, so I cannot go through all of them, and a lot of the comments are just a flame war between PC and console gamers. I mean, when I make a video called PC versus console, that's just going to happen, so I'm kind of, I guess, responsible for that happening, but whatever. I'll read some comments from people both on the PC side and the console side of things. The video had like 70% likes, 30% dislikes, so it was pretty split down the middle. More people like the video, but I think that's just because a lot of people that are subscribed to my channel are PC oriented, and I'm just using objective facts in my arguments. It's just the reality of it. If you're talking about PC versus console gaming, it's just, you know, a lot of it is opinion based when we're talking about the types of games that are available on every platform and which that you prefer. But even with that, I mean, it feels like every console game now is just coming to PC, with the exception of Nintendo. But now Sony and Microsoft are putting all their games on PC, so it's like, if you're talking about, especially on Xbox, if you're an Xbox guy and you're talking about how Xbox has so much better games, but like with PC, you can play every single one of them on PC, and it's better to play it over there. You don't have paid online or any of these other things. So there's a lot of objective truth when it comes to the benefits of PC gaming versus console gaming, and I broke pretty much all of it down as much as I could in that video. But let's see what you guys have to say. So Magnamaster 1801, he says that honestly, even if PC gaming was way more expensive, I would still go for it. I own a dozen consoles, and they combined don't get close to offering as much as my PC does. And I love how he has 36 replies. People are very passionate in the comment section. To have 36 replies on a single comment is pretty spicy. So yeah, he definitely ruffled some feathers with that comment. But it's definitely true. You know, even with all those consoles, I mean, there's a thing called emulation, so you already, by default, have a whole bunch of consoles into one. Just with the emulators, I'll give you guys a little secret. With my Let's Play channel, all the PS2 games that I'm playing is ripped straight from the emulator. PCSX2, which a decade ago I tried for the first time, and it was horrendous, but it's come a long way, where pretty much every PS2 game that has been released runs pretty stable, and runs better than it would on an actual PS2 console. But yeah, cost was a big talking point that I made in that video. There's a misconception that PC gaming is so much more expensive than console gaming, which could not be further from the truth. If you factor in paid online, if you factor in games being more expensive on console due to there only being one marketplace to buy them, which is either through Sony or Microsoft, instead of PC, where you have multiple storefronts competing against each other, and you have different deals from different stores, and there's actually a lot of competition just in the PC marketplace. And also with the prices of GPUs and CPUs coming down dramatically over the past year. You know, if you were making an argument in mid-2020 or early 2021 that PC gaming is just so much more expensive than console gaming, I would agree with you, but also during that time period, you couldn't get a brand new console. PS5 and Series X was insanely difficult to get your hands on, so the argument was kind of moot. You know, say that one platform's cheaper than the other if it's completely inaccessible. And I'm not going to try to repeat every single thing I said in that video, because that's what the video is for me to make my arguments over there. But yeah, the whole idea of PC gaming being like this thing that's just so much more expensive than console is completely false. But MagnaMaster made a good point. Even if it wasn't false, even if it was true, PC gaming just creates so much more value than a console ever could, especially because you're doing a lot more on a PC than just gaming. You're doing personal things on it. It's a personal computer. You can, you know, write essays for homework. You can browse the internet, which you can do on a console, but let's face it, there's no comparison in the web browsing experience. You know, there's mods, emulation, a whole bunch of other things, like when you're just talking about gaming that you can do that you cannot do on a console. That, hypothetically, let's say PC gaming costs twice as much as console, it would still be worth it. But really, the upfront cost of a brand new gaming PC that is technically on par with a PlayStation 5 and Series X. It's only a few $100s more than the console, and that difference is negated when you take off the paid online that you'd be paying, $60 a year over a 5-year period, which is what you have to pay for PlayStation Plus and Xbox Live Gold. Ananon writes, the only issues with PC right now are some games are having issues with stutter on launch. I don't play many new games, so I don't have many accounts of it happening to me, but I've seen it in a lot of videos and stuff. And on mods, the kinds of almost limitless experiences mods have is almost indescribable to console players. So when it comes to crashes, though, it's really not something that is such a widespread thing like it was 10 years ago, where you'd have a lot of compatibility issues with certain games, mostly because they were shoddy PC ports that they didn't put a lot of effort into development. I think in games like LA Noire, that was a notoriously bad PC port. Saints Row 2, Grand Theft Auto 4 for a while was pretty bad on PC. Those are just games I'm thinking of from that specific time period that were just bad. Batman Arkham Knight, that was another one. So yeah, I mean, it was more of an issue back then. Now, not really so much. You can probably name a few games that have some issues, but there are also games that have issues on consoles when it comes to performance, when it comes to all that. Cyberpunk on PlayStation 4 is the most notorious example, where it was delisted from the PlayStation for 8 months or something like that. And of course, that's just one famous example, but to say that console is completely immune from there being any gameplay issues is just completely absurd. It happens all the time on console also. Can't tell you how many times I played a game on PlayStation 4. I don't really have any experience with the PS5, so I can't really say much to that. But I remember a lot of times on the PS4 when I'm in the middle of the game and it crashes in the middle of it, and it puts me back to the home screen, dashboard, whatever you want to call it. So it happens on PlayStation also. It's not like a thing that never happens on a console and is only something that happens on PC. I mean, your experience will obviously vary depending on what kind of hardware specs you have. If you have a low-end computer, you're going to have performance issues. But in general, when you're talking about game stability, it's about the same compared to console for PC. Health. That's a very creative username. I'm done with PC gaming. Starting last year, I got a 3090 Ti because my GPU couldn't handle my 4K monitor. Turns out the card had horrendous power draw and fan noise, so I waited till the other week and bought 7900 XT at launch because 40 series is overpriced and it was under $1,000. Turns out I have the overheating issue that some get with high refresh rate monitors. There are now reports that it may be more than just driver issues, so I thought maybe I will get cracking and get a 4080, but nope. What cracked was my passion for PC gaming. It sucks now. Availability, issues, shader stutter, bad ports, noisy, expensive, hot, power hungry during an energy crisis, searching Reddit for hours because of some stupid issue you have. I'm done. My PC is now just for work or projects. At least I don't have to wait for my PC ports anymore. Yay. Well, I'm sorry you had a bad experience with your GPU. I think that honestly has more to do with the manufacturer of the GPU itself rather than all of PC gaming, because yes, there are some manufacturers of GPUs that are better than others and some that are known notoriously for not being as good and having more problems, and also certain websites that you order from, they may be selling you GPUs that they're saying are brand new and never used, but they're actually lying. They're pulling a DK oldies on their customers. All I would say is that I would encourage you, just because you had one bad experience, that wouldn't turn you away from all of PC gaming and to be with console where you have the force paid online and you have all these terrible restrictions placed upon you, the types of games that you can play, the way in which you can play those games. It's very restrictive on console. You'd be a lot better off on PC. But I'm not going to try to argue with you. You had a really terrible experience with that GPU, so much so that it turned you away from PC gaming. I can relate to that. There was one time where my family ordered Chinese food and I ate it and got really sick and I was throwing up all over the place. It was so bad that I was like, I'm never eating Chinese food ever again, and I wouldn't eat it for years. Even from a different restaurant, I just refused because of that one bad experience. So I get where you're coming from. I'm not even going to judge you or say that you shouldn't be doing that. Like, I could try to argue, but because of that bad experience, it left such a bad taste in your mouth that no amount of words could convince you to not go with console gaming. So, it is what it is. People have bad experiences with PC gaming. There are some people that do. There are a lot of people that have issues with console gaming as well. And, people are just going to do what they think is best for them. A 17-minute video talking about why PC gaming is better than console gaming is probably not going to convince a whole lot of people that are console gamers to make the jump to PC. I'm being realistic here. I just wanted to put my arguments out there and people can take them however they want. Then we got Weststyle, who says, my $1,000 PC from 2015 still runs 99% of games at 60 FPS. Yeah, the new games look worse than 9th-gen consoles, but I could probably count on my hands the amount of games I can't run because of my 4GB GPU. So I just see no reason to upgrade other than for VR. Yeah, people don't really understand the longevity that PC gaming could really have. It's like every few years you have to toss away your $1,000 PC and buy a new one or build a new one or whatever. No, first of all, you can upgrade certain parts. If one part of your build is bringing the whole thing down, you could have a really good CPU and have a terrible GPU, which is what I had. I had a 1060 3GB with an Intel i7 8700K. The CPU was never the problem. The GPU definitely was the problem at a certain point. So I upgraded. I just upgraded the GPU. I got a 2060 Super, and I think it was late 2018, it was late 2019. It was 2 months or so before the GPU market took a shit and the prices skyrocketed for everything. So I bought at the perfect time. Yeah, so that's one thing. And another thing is if you buy all the right parts and you get a really nice beefy PC, it could last you a very, very long time. Longer than a lot of people even realize. Longer than most consoles, actually, that you would buy on launch day. And then we got another very creative username, my name. Honestly, I'm switching from PC to console because I'm tired of the bullshit with PC gaming. I can't own physical games. I constantly need to upgrade, get new PCs. Even if building with used parts is expensive as hell, trying to sell a PC after you're done with is difficult as fuck. Games constantly being taken off of stores, outside of Xbox, losing out on tons of exclusives, no split screen, and constantly broken games that I can't return. Okay, so there's a lot of things that are wrong with this comment. First of all, the last thing that you said is constantly broken games that you can't return. Have you ever heard of Steam's refund policy? Because you can literally return games, get a refund for game for literally any reason that you can think of. The only exception is it has to be under 2 hours of playtime and you had to purchase it less than 2 weeks before. But that's a hell of a lot better than Sony and Microsoft's refund policy. They pretty much don't have a refund policy. For the most part, it's unless you call them by phone and complain and throw a shit fit, you're not going to get a refund on your games that you buy from there if you don't like them. But on Steam, you can literally say, like, for the reason for wanting a refund, you can say, I do not like this game. This game is not fun, and you will get a full refund. So unless you buy shady keys from, like, G2A or something like that, then you shouldn't have any problems with getting refunds. But anyway you slice it, talking about refunds as an argument for console gaming is just laughable. And there are other things you bring up that are just equally dumb, like talking about how you can't own physical games on PC. I actually saw a thing, it was an article, breaking down console game sales in 2022. 90% of all game sales on console were digital. So you could say that, oh, but I'm part of the 10% that only buys physical. That's great, but the console experience is obviously headed in the direction of phasing out physical media altogether. That's why they sell digital-only consoles for PlayStation and Xbox, because they want you to no longer purchase physical media, because they make a lot more money when you buy it digitally. There's no shipping costs, and you don't have to share the profits with the brick-and-mortar stores like GameStop or even online retailers like Amazon. Like, if you just have it straight on the PlayStation Store, the only two companies that make the money are the publisher that makes the game and Sony or Microsoft. There isn't that third entity that they have to split the profits with like they would if it were physical. And that's why GameStop was pushing so much for you to buy used games for $55 instead of $60. Remember that? Where, like, they would you would return a game to GameStop, you would sell it to them for like $20, a brand new game, and then they would sell it for $55 and would keep trying to push you to buy the game used instead of new, because they didn't make as much money off of the new game. They made a lot more money off the used copy, because when it's used, GameStop gets 100% of the profits. And as far as I'm concerned, GameStop can burn in hell. I do not give a shit. If that company goes out of business tomorrow, I will celebrate. The only reason why it still exists right now is because the stock was memed and it skyrocketed to a ridiculous price, and the company was able to cash out on that and get some more capital. Otherwise, they'd probably be out of business today, especially after COVID. And games being taken off the storefront, that is a industry-wide thing. It's not just happening on PC, it's happening everywhere. And again, most console gamers do not have the physical console anymore. They have the digital-only console, so if it's taken off a storefront, they can't just buy the physical copy anymore, because most people went with the cheaper digital-only option for the 9th generation of consoles. So pretty terrible arguments, I would say. I think we should move on, because I could spend another hour or two just talking about this. So my next video in January was talking about why the Nintendo Switch 2 might fail. We are on the verge of a brand new Nintendo console. I assume it's going to be the successor to the Nintendo Switch, as the Wii U was to the Wii. Hopefully it will go a lot more smooth than the Wii U did, because the Wii U was an abysmal failure. And I mentioned that, as, you know, if you look back at Nintendo's history, whenever they tried to follow up on the success of a very popular console that made them a lot of money, whether we're talking about the DS to the 3DS, the Game Boy to the Game Boy Advance, to the Wii to the Wii U, obviously, there were a lot of them were like, and even the NES to the Super Nintendo. Whenever they try to follow up and try to, you know, build upon that success, they always end up being less successful than the original console that they had. That's what happened with the Super Nintendo. They sold a lot less Super Nintendos than they sold NESs. They sold, like, less than half as many 3DSs as they sold DSs. And they sold, I think, like 105 million Wiis compared to 12 million Wii U's. So there's obviously a different scale when it comes to that. And the Game Boy Advance, it was a very successful platform as well. Not as successful as the original Game Boy. Still a success in its own right. So hopefully Nintendo, if they make a successor to the Switch, that it will go more like the Super Nintendo did or the GBA rather than the Wii U. Because just because they're going to make a brand new version of something that sold a lot and made them a lot of money doesn't mean that it will be a success by default. Because that's what people assume. Oh my god, the Switch 2 was going to be just as big as the Switch. That's not a guarantee. We don't know if people are tired of the whole hybrid console thing, or just if Nintendo doesn't have the games to offer. If Nintendo didn't have the games, if the Switch didn't have such a strong lineup of games during its first year, then who's to say the Switch would be nearly as popular as it is today? I don't think it would be. So that's one factor. And there's a whole bunch of other variables that I mentioned specifically in that video. So let's see what you guys think about it. FierceSlayer01, formerly known as Dr. Daniel316. I thought Dr. Daniel was a much better username than FierceSlayer01. I don't know what you were thinking with that. But here's what he says. I honestly agree with you. As someone who felt the Switch was all just a gimmick and was incredibly weak with subpar games at best, maybe a few really standout ones, but none I really care for. And if the Switch 2 continues the same path, I feel we'll just have the same problem as before in only a few short years. Really, Nintendo should focus on making semi-competent hardware that can keep up. The handheld gimmick, while admirable and a good idea, I just don't think it works as well because the cost of having good hardware that's portable is too high. Honestly, the Steam Deck does what the Switch tries to do, but far better. Either way, I don't care much for what Nintendo does, but I'd say I agree that they should either go all in on portable or all in on being a home console, because trying to be a hybrid was the cause for many issues that the Switch had. Yeah, I agree with all of that, obviously. Since you agree with me, I agree with you. Yeah, I think if they're going to go the whole hybrid route again, they need to do a lot more than just being like, hey, this is the exact same thing as the Switch, except it's more powerful now. I mean, I guess it could work, but I don't think it's ever going to be, it's going to capture lightning in a bottle twice if they just do the same exact thing over and over again. Eventually, people are going to lose interest, and it could still be successful, but I don't think it'll be nearly as successful as the OG Switch. And obviously, the whole idea of them kind of ditching the whole hybrid thing, I mean, I think they could do both. They can have their cake and eat it too. They can have a thing where, like, you can have certain games that run on the portable version, certain games that can only run on the home console. It would be a little bit more convoluted, but at least the home console experience will be a lot better as a result. Because like you said in the comment, and like I said in the video, it being a whole hybrid thing, there are a lot of compromises that are being made to both the handheld experience with the bigger size of the console not fitting in your pocket, and the battery life being atrocious. And as a home console, games are not nearly as powerful as they could be on a Nintendo console because they have to bring it down to size. So hopefully some of these issues are addressed with Nintendo's next console. Hopefully they learn from their mistakes, especially with the Wii U and other failures they've had over the years. So I mentioned in that video specifically that Nintendo actually, as far as the whole hybrid console thing, they're starting to get some competition, some serious competition, specifically from Valve and the Steam Deck. I said the Steam Deck is on fire right now. Nintendo needs to, they have to do more than just recreate the Switch if they want to stay viable and competitive, just when you're talking about the hybrid console, never mind the console market as a whole. Eons responded by saying that as far as the Steam Deck goes, they have only sold 1 million units in the course of 10 to 11 months. The Switch sold like 12 million in a comparable time frame. Even the Wii U that didn't do so great sold 3 million in that time frame. Hell, even the Vita sold 2 to 3 million in similar time frame, more than double the Steam Deck. So that's a fair point, and you could argue that I'm kind of overstating the importance of the Steam Deck in this conversation, and maybe being a little bit dramatic, saying the Steam Deck is on fire. But doesn't it feel like the Steam Deck is? So it's like one of those things that everybody's talking about right now, and it does feel like the Steam Deck has made an impact on the video game industry. You say they only sold 1 million. My response would be for the first, 6, 7, 8 months of the Steam Deck's life cycle, they were only selling a limited number of units. Like, everyone was trying to get their hands on a Steam Deck like people were for the PS5 and Series X when those consoles came out. The Steam Deck, it's like you had to be on a waiting list, and it took forever to finally get one. Now they're finally in a place where they have enough stock, to keep up with demand. But to compare the situation with the Steam Deck to that of the PlayStation Vita specifically, being like, well, they only sold half as many Steam Decks as they sold PlayStation Vitas during the first year of those consoles' respective life cycles, it doesn't really tell the complete picture. I don't think people are half as interested as a Steam Deck as they were in the PlayStation Vita back in the day. I think it just has more to do with the amount of consoles that are being manufactured was a lot more with the PlayStation Vita, so that is probably the main factor as to why they sold more PS Vitas. Not that when it's all said and done, the Steam Deck is only going to sell 10 million units or less. I don't think that's going to be the case, but we'll see. And then I made a video talking about whether or not adults should play games that are made and intended for children. It's a topic that comes up every now and then. Usually people thinking that they're better than you, or that like they're trying to make fun of you because you play a game that is rated E for everyone and is kid-friendly and has cartoons and all that kind of stuff. And I just wanted to talk about that, mostly because it was a topic that I never really discussed on the channel before, and I wanted to create original content or new content that I never made before, instead of just talking repeatedly about PC versus console, you know, so that's why I made that video. And I basically said, like, yeah, like, just let people play whatever games they want, as long as it's nothing that's like illegal. Like, if it's like a CP simulator, then there's a problem. Otherwise, let people play whatever the hell they want, and let that be that. Magma Master, again, he says, I completely agree with you. Just because a game is a quote-unquote kids game, you shouldn't be prevented from enjoying it. There are tons of non-mature games I enjoy, and anyone that has a problem with adults playing those games is extremely insecure about their own maturity. Couldn't say it better myself. Not every type of media that we consume has to be all about sex and or graphic violence. Like, we can have some stuff that's a little bit more mellow and doesn't have all that shit in it. And Mikhailin also agrees. He says that games are meant for everyone, and people feel this way about cartoons too, that you are too old to be watching them. Yeah, that's another thing I see. Like, if you have adults that watch Nickelodeon cartoons, I remember in, I think it was junior high school, there was a kid that was made fun of because he watched like Adventure Time or something like that, and they're like, why the hell are you watching that show? It's made for kids. Like, you know, that's something that happens a lot, especially like when you're an older kid in school. If you say that you're into like cartoons and stuff, if you say, yeah, I watch every episode of SpongeBob, or I watch every episode of whatever show on Cartoon Network or Nickelodeon, Disney Channel, you're going to be looked at funny. In the second grade, I was a huge fan of the Powerpuff Girls, and my mom thought that there was something wrong with me because of that. But it was just a good show. Like, I didn't care that it was like a girly show. It's still, I thought the writing was kind of good, and the characters and all that stuff, and the presentation. So it didn't really matter to me that it was like, you know, it was all about girl power or whatever it was. And finally, Neighborino, he says, great video. Anyone should enjoy playing a game regardless if it's for kids or not. I love my gory games like God of War and Doom, but I also love playing some Spyro and Ratchet & Clank as well. Yeah, variety is a good thing. And I think what I said that I remember specifically, I'm like, good gameplay is good gameplay no matter what. If the level design's good, if the gameplay is engaging and is overall very fun, then it doesn't matter if it has an E rating or an M rating on it at the end of the day. And then I talked about VR and how it has failed to reach the mainstream like everyone was predicting was going to happen a decade ago. And it was back in early 2016 I made a video talking about why VR will fail. And since then, everything I said pretty much materialized as far as the cost and the overall setup of VR being inaccessible for most gamers. A good example of that is how the PlayStation VR 2, which was recently released or is about to be released, it is currently being sold for retail for about $550, so more than the cost of the console itself for an add-on to the console. But everyone's hyping it up like it's going to be the next big thing and how it's going to take VR to new heights. I'm like, the price alone, that's never going to happen. Even if the games are spectacular, it's just, it's not accessible. Tim Deuces says, it may stay niche, and it most likely won't replace desktop or consoles, but that's not necessarily indicative of a failure. Even today, for those who do get into VR, they're a highly dedicated fan base. VR will stick around. Yeah, I don't know about that, because when you're talking about a VR game, right, the reason why so many VR games are basically tech demos, they're not real gaming experiences, with there's really only a handful of exceptions like Half-Life Alyx and a couple of other games, but most of them are just generic proof of concepts. That's what they are, because the budget for VR is so much higher. It costs a lot more money to create a game in VR than it would for another, like for a regular game that's on conventional hardware, like just a game that's just regular. Let me speak. A regular game that's like just released on a console that's not VR. It costs a lot less to make a game like that is guaranteed to make a lot more money because the install base is a lot more than VR. So they have to cut a lot of corners to make these VR games, hoping that, you know, they'll create these little proof of concept games and maybe it'll materialize into something in the future. But it has not materialized. Even after all the growth that VR has experienced over the years, it still only represents about 2% of the video game industry in terms of revenue. So compared to PC, console, mobile, all that stuff, it's not even a fraction of the total video game industry. Very insignificant and inconsequential. And to help illustrate my point even more, we have a real life case of someone who can't buy VR because it's inaccessible to them. And Anon, he says, I've tried VR a few times, and though I would like a wider FOV, if I had the spare cash, I would totally get into PC VR. And he mentions a bunch of games that he'd like to play, and he says, but as you said, the cost is super high, and the amount of fun experiences will probably not be worth it to most players. And though I agree that VR will probably not go mainstream, I find the likelihood of it dying very low. VR is something normal gaming cannot emulate, it's just something else. But can it make the money? Who cares what it can do? Who cares? Like, it just matters if it can actually make any money, whether or not it's successful or a failure. People liking it does not mean it's a success. It making money means it's a success, and so far it is not making a significant amount of money to be considered a success by any metric. Another interesting topic I had for you guys: should every video game have an easy mode? That's another contentious debate in the video game community, particularly games like Dark Souls, Cuphead, games that are known for its difficulty more than anything else. And having an easy mode for a game like that would just seem ridiculous and would completely defeat the entire purpose of the game. And basically the conclusion that I came down to was that I think it's developers' right to put an easy mode in if they want to. If they could have easy mode, hard mode, medium, they can have a whole scale of difficulty. There are some games that actually prefer to play in easy mode, like the Mass Effect series. The gameplay in Mass Effect is not very good. The gunplay is not very good. The story is very good. So if I can just have it where like the gameplay kind of takes a backseat to the story, then yeah, I'll play the game on easy mode because the narrative is what I come for, not necessarily the gameplay, which I am not a big fan of. So yeah, there are certain games where I will unapologetically play on easy mode. Also, first-person shooters, I won't necessarily play on easy mode, but maybe normal difficulty or medium difficulty, because when you're playing on the hardest difficulty, it's just a bunch of bullet sponges, and I don't find that type of gameplay to be very engaging. So if it's done right, a very hard gameplay experience is great, but how the way in which they make it hard is very important. So I wanted to share this. It was a very cute exchange between Magnamaster and this other user called On the Turning Away. Magnamaster shares a quote about the director of Dark Souls and how important difficulty is for the gameplay experience, like I was saying. And On the Turning Away, he responds, he says, tell him to work on his level design and controls because his games are garbage. And then Magnamaster replies, says, I will tell him jack shit because he makes the best games in the entire industry and the controls and level design are among the best in history. And On the Turning Away says, you're entitled to your own opinion. And then Magnamaster replies, except it is correct and your opinion is wrong. I just love seeing people go back and forth like that in the comment section. I get a kick out of that. Then we have an interesting comment from Angry Mobsters. He says, yes, every game should have an easy mode, especially in this day and age with how long games are and how much detail is in games now. Some people like to enjoy the scenery in the games and want to explore everything. Not everyone wants to deal with BS deaths in games when you are trying to look at everything in the game. There is nothing to lose in having all the difficulties either. Yeah, I think there's some games, though, where the difficulty is kind of like the whole point, like Dark Souls and like some other games, but then again, there are games like Doom where they can have their cake and eat it too. They have nightmare difficulty that is very challenging and a very rewarding experience, but you can play on easy mode if you want to as well, so I can understand both arguments. I definitely could. But as far as all games having it, I don't think a one-size-fits-all approach for development for anything is a good idea, so that's why I'm generally against that. Moving on to another thing that I find very interesting, and it's an opinion that a lot of people may disagree with, but I think most people are definitely with me on this. Achievements are completely meaningless. There is no point in getting them. They serve no real purpose in video games. They don't make the gaming experience any better. They're just a way to pad out playtime for a game, and at the end of the day, though, it's just completely useless and a complete waste of time. That's why when I launched my Let's Play channel, I decided I'm not ever going to go for 100% completion, getting all the achievements, whatever it is, because it makes the game a lot worse. The game is not fun anymore. It feels more like a job and more like a grind, and we already have enough of that with these live service games. I don't want to take that approach and put it across all the video games that I play. That would just be terrible, man. Well, Andy Journey, he says, I'm pretty neutral on achievements. If I like the game, I'll hunt down the achievements. I also don't care if the game doesn't have them. I really hate how obsessed my friend is with them. He's willing to buy some really shitty games like Terminator Salvation just because they have easy trophies. He's even bought some games twice on PS3 and PS4 so he can get 2 sets of trophies. If I didn't know better, I think his life essence is tied to getting trophies. Yeah, that's sad. Your friend needs an intervention, just like how my friends tried to give me an intervention because of how much money I invest in cryptocurrency, pretty much my entire life savings. And then Sailor Mercury has a very interesting comment. He says that Steam achievements are useless, but I do like Xbox achievements and Platinum trophies for PlayStation. With Xbox achievements specifically, though, you can at least get points for their reward service. So you can actually get store credit for just getting achievements. So that's actually a good point, and that's something that I have actually benefited from myself. Every single time when I play Call of Duty on my COD channel, and I obviously have to pay for the multiplayer for Xbox Live, I actually don't pay for it. I get it through the Microsoft Rewards program, and part of that is the achievements I got on Xbox, and you can even get them on PC now. With certain Xbox games that are over there. So yeah, that's one way you can actually be incentivized to get the trophies or the achievements, and it actually be kind of worthwhile for you. And Heathen Sauce, he says, shut your mouth, achievements are everything. But in all seriousness, there are certain achievements that I want. I usually play a game for the difficulty achievements. I never do completionist achievements, and I think those are stupid, and most difficulty achievements I don't care about. For instance, I don't care about Deep Rock Galactic has 5 achievement. It was easy to get. I do care about Divinity 2 Classic achievement, as beating the game on Classic is extremely hard. I also like to show off my achievements that show I beat a game on a hard difficulty, especially a thinking game like Divinity, so it's a matter of personal preference. I view games as a fun way to learn new things and keep my mind active, so I justify getting some achievements. I think it's absolutely essential to have an honest achievement system, and though I hate PlayStation, I admit they do an amazing job with their achievement system. That's why you like it, it's well designed, and they are the only ones who designed it well. The rest are just sad second thoughts, and it's a shame. Yeah, I always found the PlayStation, like, I've never really cared about trophies, but I always found the PlayStation ones to be the coolest, like, as far as achievements go, because getting that bronze trophy, and the platinum, and the gold, and the silver, it was always cool having that little ding sound, when you get the trophy when you're playing a game. I always thought it was kind of cool, but never really cared much for it. The only games that I've received platinum trophies for, like I said in the video, are the Telltale games. Doesn't count, I know, but that's my point. And Dr. Daniel, or Fear Slayer, I'm sorry, I still can't get used to that. He says, primary PC player here, but I think achievements do mean something, but it really depends on how the game designs achievements. For example, something like Resident Evil 4 on Steam is pretty good, as you'll hit them all if you play on the highest difficulty and get pretty much every collectible, which isn't hard and actually benefits you in game to do so. So, sure, there's maybe one achievement that require you to do something silly, but it's fairly easy to do, and it's just 1 out of 13 in total for Resident Evil 4. Sonic Adventure 2 is another one that does it correctly, as you basically just have to 100% the game by getting all 180 emblems to get them all, which really is something most people would do anyhow. Not me. I like getting them because I like challenging myself if a game is well designed, and in a way, if it serves as a reminder for me that I did something challenging, such as beating New York Minute Hardcore in Max Payne 3, as well as sometimes I will go for achievements in games I just really enjoy as an excuse to play more, like Grand Theft Auto 4. I love that game. It's my 3rd favorite game of all time. I've been trying to 100% it in the last year or so because I want to. And what else did he say? Make no mistake, even if the achievements weren't there, I'd still have played it for 260 hours. But having them set as a goal, I can go for while enjoying myself, And I think another thing is that achievements are a good way to show how much someone has played a game. Normally this wouldn't matter, but if someone is talking nonsense about a game, you can check the achievements to see how much they've played. So if someone, for example, is talking trash about the single player in Doom, you could check their achievements because you essentially get one for each level beaten. So if someone has none for single player, you know they've not finished the first level. Thus, I feel their argument is invalid as they've seen nothing the game really has to offer. I think that's kind of a shot at me because I don't have any single player achievements. Anyway, it also kind of goes with only beating 2 levels as many games start slow and get into their groove over time. This ability to essentially see progress someone made really comes in handy when fanboys simp for exclusives blindly and you can see they've never played the game, or when people trash games they never played, and it helps you show people with good convincing proof your experience with the game in case they claim that you didn't play something. And lastly, he says that he enjoys achievements for the reasons above, but also likes a good challenge. So when a game dangles that carrot over your head, so to speak, take it as an invitation to prove your skill. I understand it wouldn't be for everyone. Yeah, I mean, I can kind of respect that. And like I said, it's not really like me trying to say, oh, you can't enjoy it because I don't enjoy it. It's just something that I don't get anything out of, and that's just how it is. But it's cool that you like it, though. I think checking it as a way to see if someone's actually played the game is certainly the most interesting thing I've heard about why achievements are important. The only counter I'll have is that I have, like, how many thousands of hours on Fallout 4 on Xbox, and then on Steam I have another, like, 300 hours, but I have 0 achievements because I started it with mods. Never played the game vanilla on PC, so technically, on paper, I have no achievements. Doesn't mean I don't know what I'm talking about when I'm talking about Fallout 4. So there are definitely exceptions to that rule for sure. And I had another hot take about SSDs, how they're overhyped and they're definitely not worth the money that they're charging when you get a hard drive that's a lot cheaper, and there are no games that you can't run on a hard drive that you can run on an SSD. Magnamaster says Star Citizen is actually unplayable, but he does admit that console SSDs are a scam. They cost significantly more than PC SSDs, despite being manufactured by Seagate, who are infamous for cutting corners to the point where their hard drives have over triple the failure rate of other manufacturers. And on PC, SSDs are still expensive, but I think you shouldn't look at them as an outright replacement for hard drives. What is pretty normal to do is have an SSD for the games you play the most, and that benefit the most from the faster loading, and have a hard drive for all your other stuff. Using SSDs for storage of a large number of games and/or files is a luxury, and if you save music files, videos, and such, that's a waste. Yeah, I can definitely agree with most of what you're saying. As far as Star Citizen, I actually did look up some YouTube videos about people actually running it. Definitely not as fast. Definitely preferable to run on a SSD, but it certainly is playable on a hard drive if you really want to do so, and if you really want to put yourself through that. But Star Citizen being like your one example is also not a good thing, because that's a game that it's been pretty much in development hell for the past decade. So yeah, I'd say though, any way you slice it, SSDs were totally overhyped, and what everyone was saying is that there are going to be all these games that you can't run on a hard drive and you can only run an SSD, especially when we're talking about the PS5. Well, most PS5 games, pretty much all PS5 first-party games, have also been released on the PS4, so, what happened to that? We're like, these games just simply can't run on a hard drive, that's why we have to overcharge you for these proprietary SSDs. Yeah, it's definitely a scam on console, you're absolutely right about that. And Fidos, he says Star Citizen and Ratchet & Clank Rift Apart are games that require SSDs, and that we haven't seen any true next-gen games yet that will require SSDs, so that's why we haven't seen games that need more than a hard drive. Yeah, Star Citizen I already talked about. As far as Ratchet & Clank goes, if that game ever comes to PC, I can guarantee all my crypto money that you can play the game with a hard drive if it comes to PC. And the only reason why it wouldn't be is if Sony or whatever publisher tries to lock you from playing it. Like, actually says, like, please install an SSD in order to play this game. That'd be the only way that an SSD would be absolutely required to play. I can guarantee you 100% game is playable on hard drive. And then games like Elder Scrolls 6 or whatever requiring them in the future, I also don't see that happening. I don't see them being requirements anytime in the future. I just don't see it. It seems like mostly just marketing hype from console fanboys specifically. Not saying you are one, but that's like most of the people that have been pushing the SSD are PlayStation gamers, because the SSD is one of the main selling points that Sony pushed. And then there's Daninator, a guy who apparently has 300,000 subscribers on YouTube and has been subscribed to my channel for 7 years, so he's a long-time viewer. Never seen a comment from him before, so it's pretty cool. But he says that SSDs are more expensive to make, so it's a weird argument to say that Sony makes more money off of it, even if the product is also more expensive because of this. Also, external hard drives are really slow. I got one and couldn't play Cyberpunk on it. Well, no one could play Cyberpunk because it's a piece of shit game. Anyway, the transfer speed was more than the average external hard drive. You need to have a fast transfer time if you want to load high textures very fast. SSD does this a lot better than a hard drive. Most Rust players will have the game installed on their SSD because it almost fastens the loading time by 10 times. And transferring data is just a lot faster on SSDs. GTA 5 load screen could take 10 times more long on a worse drive, and it already takes so long to load. GTA 5 is an interesting example because that's one game that kind of illustrated for me just how little importance SSDs have, because I have it installed on an SSD on my PC, but I play GTA Online because I already played the single player 10,000 times, and it's still a long-ass loading screen because you got to load into the servers, load in with all the players, and it's just like, yeah, when it comes to online games, there's very little benefit. You mentioned Rust. I don't play Rust. I haven't played it in since 2014, 2015, so you could be right about that, but in 99% of cases, when I'm playing an online multiplayer game, SSDs have very, very little benefit. And as far as the argument I was making, though, about SSDs being expensive, go back to MagnaMaster's comment about how they're a scam on consoles and how they're proprietary SSDs that you can only buy them from Seagate, and Seagate's a terrible manufacturer. So you mentioned how some are worse than others. Well, Seagate makes some of the worst SSDs, and on consoles they are a requirement. So keep that in mind when you try to think that it's more than just a marketing scam, because that's what SSDs are. Definitely that's what they are on console. And another video where I had a really hot take talking about how handheld gaming is dead because there's no portability anymore, the console's too large, we're talking about the Switch and the Steam Deck can't fit in your pocket. That makes an automatic failure for a handheld in my opinion, and the battery life is pathetically low, 2 to 3 hours. That's just another waste of time. Not worth the money at all. Not a real handheld. Fazan Ree, I definitely butchered his name, but he says that handheld gaming is dead. I think we have to agree that mobile gaming is going to be the thing for people who want to play on the go. We have big games coming out on mobile these days, which shows that publishers have realized the potential on that platform, especially Ubisoft. Games like Division, Rainbow Six, Activision's got Warzone Mobile, Apex Mobile, which actually recently shut down, which is interesting. That comment's only 3 weeks old, and one of the games he listed is already shut down. And he's like, yeah, it lacks the soul, but I think modern gaming as a whole has seen a loss in the soul. Indie games really carrying the industry right now. Gaming is about money. No other reason for so many ports and unoriginal games being flooded into the market. I could definitely agree with you on that. But yeah, it's sad what's happened to handheld gaming. I think mobile gaming and smartphone gaming definitely played a role, but I don't think it tells the entire story of why handheld gaming has declined. And yeah, I don't think that making them bigger and giving them a shorter battery life is an improvement by any metric. It's an objective downgrade compared to what we've had before. And I think it's really indicative of how far handheld gaming has fallen when I have a whole bunch of comments talking about how handheld gaming's not dead because you have all these handhelds that are Chinese and they can do emulation. Like, I just find that very strange how so many people are commenting that in that video. You guys are just proving my point here. But, okay, so last video of the month was talking about the PlayStation 5 Pro because there are a lot of rumors about them making one, and I'm just like, what the hell is the point of a PS5 Pro? It just doesn't make any sense. I said the same thing when there were talks of a Switch Pro. Like, it's just completely useless because you're just taking the same games, giving them more powerful hardware, but it's still the same generation. What a complete waste, especially the PS5, which, graphically speaking, is definitely not something that needs a refresh and needs to have a mid-gen upgrade. I just don't see there being any purpose to that. Unless they were to make a PS5 Pro that had a little bit of a technical upgrade, but the main selling point would be that it is fully backwards compatible with every PlayStation. PlayStation 4, 3, 2, and 1. That would be the only thing that I could see being a big reason for someone to even want a PlayStation 5 Pro. And I think I'm onto something because MagnaMaster is the biggest PC guy I could think of and is very anti-console, and he says he would buy one if the PlayStation 5 Pro had full backwards compatibility and you can run, like, all your discs would work on PlayStation 5, like the PS3, PS4, PS2, PS1, not like the 360 emulation that you have on the Xbox One and Series X where only select titles can work. No, this is like full backwards compatibility. That's what we're talking about here. And yeah, I think that would be a huge deal if they did that. Thor81 says the reason they're coming out with the Pro is because it's easier to get parts for it. COVID messed things up for PS5. That makes no sense because the Pro is supposed to be a more powerful version of the PS5. So you have more expensive parts. Somehow these more expensive parts are easier to get. So they're going to make a PS5 Pro that would be at least $100 more expensive, presumably, if it's more powerful. It just doesn't make any sense as to why that would be easier to manufacture and would be better business-wise for Sony. No, that's just completely wrong. Final comment from Eon Eons. The PS4 Pro, it just made sense back in 2016, but the PS5 Pro truly does not make any sense. We might see a PS5 Slim this year or next year, but even that's unlikely. I mean, I guess a PS5 Slim would make sense because they've always done a slim version of every single console from Sony, so I don't see why they wouldn't do one for the PlayStation 5. But yeah, think about it though. They did the PS4 Pro in 2016. We're in 2023, so it'd be the same exact time period between, like, 3 years between the original console's release, but the PS5 and PS4 cannot be compared as far as graphical fidelity is concerned. PS5 is still pretty powerful, pretty impressive technologically. PS4 was a joke when it came out in 2013. So, you know, it made sense then to do a PS4 Pro. Doesn't mean it makes sense to do a PS5 Pro right now. But yeah, that's my recap for the month of January 2023. It was fun reading all your comments again. It's been years since I've done something like this, so it was nice to do it again. And I don't know when I'll see you guys again, when I'm going to be posting. I don't want to commit because it's so much shit going on right now in my life that I'm not ready to commit fully to my YouTube shit. So hope you guys can understand that. But it was nice being back for a little bit. Until next time. Bye, guys.